Now, you're with Julian on the Brown Note, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the recent bailing of Kyle Rittenhouse versus a black artist called Bobby Shmurda, killed Gene Pollard, the rapper Bobby Shmurda, and the way that the American legal system and public view people, their culpability, through the prism of race, and how that is a very big thing in America, and people will talk about the Black Lives Matter movement as though it's an abstract concept and not a daily occurrence. But the treatment of Kyle Rittenhouse by wider society and the legal system thus far versus Bobby Shmurda is, I think, sort of telling in the way that things happen. Kyle Rittenhouse just made bail for two... I'll just go through his charges. So Kyle Rittenhouse famously is a Trump supporter who got sucked into this whole ideal of militias, right-wing militias that would go and attack Black Lives Matters protesters that were exploding all over America. He went to Kenosha. He went across the state line, driven by his mum, I believe. He bought an illegal AR-15 weapon, and during the melees and the chaos of the riots, he ended up shooting 3 people and killing 2. And since then, it has exploded because everyone on the right side of the equation regards him as a martyr, a hero, someone that was defending property, someone that acted in self-defense. There is no black 17-year-old in American history that has been afforded that level of treatment. I doubt there's a black teenager in American history that shot and killed 2 people that was ever granted bail. I doubt that there's a black teenager in American history that had the general public raise $2 million to get you out on bail, or has leading American politicians defending you as a hero, and even in one case, somebody that should run for Congress. Now, Bobby Shmurda is in Rikers Island, was in one of the most notorious jails in America. There are constant calls to close it. The level of violence, overcrowding, mistreatment of prisoners is notorious and world famous, in fact. Now, Bobby Shmurda, he isn't directly accused of any crime other than owning a gun. And because he had previously been up on a felony charge, he's not allowed to, despite Americans crowing about gun ownership being a birthright to the extent they will defend Islamists owning guns and actually go against people that are on terrorist watch lists being denied ownership of guns. That's true. They will actually, they don't feel the same about black people that have felony charges. Black people are far more likely to receive felony charges in the first place. Now, what happened with Bobby Shmurda is he had a big hit record in 2014. And it seems to me that a lot of black people that have big hit records end up in jail, or at least under a lot of attention from the police. What happened with him is that the police then said that he was the leader of a gang, a local gang, and his lyrics in his songs proved it. Now, that's becoming something that is very contentious in America, where a rapper might rap about doing crime, and then the police take those lyrics to court and say, see, he's saying that he does all this stuff in songs. I think it might have actually been proven to be against the law. Nonetheless, he was deemed the ringleader of this particular gang. Now, in America, in a lot of impoverished areas with high levels of gang violence, people grow up into gangs because everyone you know is your father, your uncle, your cousin. Everyone else is in this gang, and they use the conspiracy law, which was designed to take down mafia dons, against black teenagers all the time. And it goes like this. If you're in this gang, which is basically people from your block in the street, and another member of that gang commits a murder, you can be held culpable for that murder. Now, what they do with black teenagers in America is they threaten them with 90-year jail sentences and then get them to trade down to a weapons charge, so they get 5 years in jail, 10 years in jail, all the while threatening them with their whole lives going. And they usually take this, so it never goes to trial, it's never tested in court, and as part of them pleading guilty, they aren't allowed to appeal, and they often get railroaded by promises that they'll be let out, halfway through their sentence, when in fact the prison environment will lead to more violence, because it's a very violent environment, and they say this person was involved in violence in prison, so they have to serve their whole sentence. That's exactly what happened to Bobby Shmurda. He traded it down, and he was convicted of, he pled guilty to third-degree conspiracy, which is in essence, you're in the environment where other people are planning future crimes, and a weapons charge for owning a weapon or having a weapon when he wasn't supposed to. He isn't charged with using that weapon. He isn't charged with committing a murder or a robbery. He's charged with owning a weapon when he shouldn't have, and being part of a wider conspiracy where other people committed crimes. Now, he was promised by his lawyer that he would do 3.5 years in jail. At the time, he spent 2 years in Rikers Island waiting to go to trial. And he also had a $2 million bond. The general public weren't out there bailing him out. And he ended up being involved in violence in prison, and he is now been refused all parole hearings and won't be out until December 2021, which is 7 years of his jail term, the whole thing. He spent in Rikers Island, despite the fact that he had an extremely promising rap career that would have no doubt taken him far away from that world of gangs and violence, because he was a rap superstar in the making. Now, Kyle Rittenhouse, he has charges that are pretty shocking. There are 6 charges against Kyle Rittenhouse. First-degree reckless homicide against Joseph Rosenbaum. First-degree reckless endangering safety against Richard McGuinness. First-degree intentional homicide against Anthony Huber. First-degree intentional homicide against Gage Grosskreutz. First-degree recklessly endangering safety against an unknown male victim, and possession of a dangerous weapon by a person under the age of 18. Now, the weapons charge alone matches Bobby Shmurda, because that was him buying an AR-15, an assault weapon, not a handgun, an assault weapon, illegally, and the guy that sold it to him has already been charged and I think convicted. Because in the state that he had the gun, it's an open carry state for people over the age of 18. He was under the age of 18. The gun wasn't legally licensed to him. He wasn't legally allowed to be carrying it. So he committed 2 murders and has been charged with 2 murders amongst a raft of other crimes, including shooting another person. Now, the way that these 2 people are treated, the whole of America, half of America, all of the Trump side of America, came forward and raised $2 million to get this kid out on bail. What black kid who has already admitted that he was responsible for shooting and killing 2 people with an unlicensed illegal weapon has ever got out of jail on bail, or ever had the public raise bail for them? There is a very, very strong chance Kyle Rittenhouse will never go back to jail. He may well get away with the whole thing on self-defense. I'm not sure how many black kids have bought an illegal AR-15, gone to an area where there's chaos unfolding, ended up shooting 3 people and got this level of the benefit of the doubt where they may end up walking. He may not even do time. He might go down for murder, but he may well get self-defense. And that's self-defense when you've walked into an acknowledged war zone with an illegal assault rifle. I think that the legal system is set up in America, and the public is set up to regard one colour as getting the benefit of the doubt no matter what they do, and the other colour getting none at all and being railroaded by the system where they're threatened with decades in jail so they admit to a lesser crime. And this happens all the time. Most black teenagers, most black male teenagers never end up going to court. They always plead guilty to lesser crimes to avoid a 90-year sentence. And Bobby Shmurda is going to do a minimum 7 years in Rikers Island, or he's now been moved into protective custody. He was involved in violence in prison because he was famous. He was a target from day one. How would you get on if you were a notoriously famous rap star going to Rikers Island as a 20-year-old? Are you not going to get beaten up or in a fight at some point? The idea that he was this kingpin of this organisation, purely because he was the most famous person in it, is ridiculous. He wasn't the oldest. It's not going to be him that's leading the whole organisation. He isn't accused of actually committing the crimes this organisation did. He is being treated like John Gotti. He's a kid from a poor, violent neighbourhood in New York that had a gun in an environment where he would probably need one to survive legitimately. Yet he's being treated as a mafia don. And he will serve out all of that time when he could have had a burgeoning rap career and his only conviction would have been illegally having a gun. But Kyle Rittenhouse has killed 2 people and injured a third, and did so by travelling over state lines, purchasing an illegal weapon, and deliberately going into a war zone, and half of America thinks he's a hero. One side, if you're a black teenager or a black male, young black male, the legal system and the public are set up to treat you as a criminal from day one. And it's extremely difficult for you to avoid that. Kyle Rittenhouse can murder people or kill people, and he's completely given the benefit of the doubt all the way along the path. And even if he does get put in jail, the public will come and get his back and bail him out. It's a very unequal system, and it kind of goes to show why people protest so much. The system in America will lead to people getting parking tickets or traffic violations because they're black, and they're 6 times more likely in some places to get pulled over by the police. They can't afford to pay them, so they then become part of the criminal system. And it's a deliberate policy. It feeds the private prison system, and it persecutes black people, and they haven't had enough power to do anything about it, so they've been rioting in the streets. And they're now being shot in the streets for rioting over the treatment they get on the legal system, a legal system that may see the guy that shot 2 of these protesters dead get off scot-free. It's a very unequal system, and it really does go to show that there is an enormous problem with the way the legal system in America treats people based on the colour of their skin, but also the way the general public view people based on the colour of their skin. Kyle Rittenhouse was shown in photos as being a good kid. Even Trayvon Martin, who was murdered by an adult, was shown looking like a gangbanger in the photos. And that happens all the time. They're always shown looking like gang members. America does have a really deep-rooted problem with race. This is Bobby Shmurda and his hot N-word song that made his name, and he still won't get out until the end of next year. Will contain swearing.
Yeah, I try to make a next motherfucking scene.